Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. It's Terry here, crafting with you today for Tailored Expressions. I'm so glad you're here. Today I'll be sharing a soft and sweet card using two of the newest TE colors. They're absolutely beautiful and I can't wait to show you how they come together. Let's get started. Before we jump in, let's go over the supplies I used for today's card. I used the rounded rectangle stacklets, all together, a note of thanks stamp and coordinating dies, set of Sprigs dies, How Does Your Garden Grow dies, VersaMark Ink, some twine for finishing touches, bits and pieces clay clouds, cardstocks in Tiki Mule and royal icing, and I paired those with a few of my favorite staples, toffee, buttercream frosting, sugar cube, and a soft sheet of vellum. To begin, I like to prep all the little pieces ahead of time. I started by die cutting set of Sprigs dies from royal icing cardstock. Since the die is beautifully detailed, I use a pokey tool to gently remove the tiny inner pieces. I just love how delicate these sprigs are. They add such a graceful touch. Here's a peek at die cuts I made off camera. I honestly lost count of how many times I ran a die through. Probably more than I needed, but I wanted to make sure I had enough to fill an A2 panel, plus a few extras just in case. Next, I cut a panel of Tiki Mule cardstock to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches and began laying out the sprigs. There was no exact science to it. I simply placed them down wherever they looked pleasing, aiming to cover the entire panel without large gaps. Once I was happy with the arrangement, I used liquid adhesive to carefully glue them down. Don't worry about the pieces hanging over the edge. We'll trim those off later. After trimming the edges, I noticed a few spots that needed a little extra something, so I tucked in more sprigs around the border and trimmed again. It's always fun to let the design evolve naturally as you go. Now for the pop of softness. I die cut those sweet little flowers from How Does Your Garden Grow set using buttercream frosting cardstock. With the help of my pickup tool, I placed the blooms around the sprigs background and adhered them down with liquid glue. I went through my embellishment stash and realized I didn't have many TE bits and pieces on hand, but I did find these adorable clay clouds and they worked perfectly as flower centers. I love the texture they added to the finishing touches. For the sentiment, I wanted something that wouldn't cover up all the lovely floral work, so I die cut a rounded rectangle from Vellum to keep things light and airy. I set that aside for now. Toffee cardstock and stamped the all together a note of thanks stamp using VersaMark Ink. I pressed down a couple of times using my stamping platform to get a nice even impression. Then I used a coordinating die to cut out all the sentiment in one go. Such a time saver. Using my strong magnets to hold the vellum in place, I gently adhere a few of the sentiments onto the front using tweezers. To attach the vellum panel to the card, I flipped it over and added foam squares only behind the sentiment areas so that the adhesive wouldn't show through. Once the vellum panel was centered and secure onto the sprig background, I trimmed the entire piece down slightly to 4 by 5 1/4 inches. In hindsight, I should have trimmed it earlier. Then I mounted the trim panel onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of toffee cardstock to create a soft border. To finish it off, I tied a sweet little twine bow and adhered it next to the sentiment for the final charming detail. Finally, I adhered the finished piece onto a top folding card base, and just like that, this soft layered floral card is complete. I hope you found a little inspiration here today and feel encouraged to spend some time in your own crafty space. If you enjoy this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, stay creative and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.